Progressive members of parliament are calling the mother of all battles in Lebanon's upcoming 2026 parliamentary elections. That is, the right of the Lebanese expats to vote. I want to bring us back to the facts, the numbers, rather than the theory and the philosophy, because everyone's theorising, everyone's philosophising. Let's look at the numbers. How many seats were actually decided by the diaspora vote?
6, roughly. It's 8%. Look, I don't want to get into intentions. I want to remain into facts and figures. Okay? You don't open this...
Pandora's box.
Exactly. You don't open it.
We need to change the dynamics and the face of politics in Lebanon.
So the issue is not numbers. The issue is thinking, organizing, and how we do it. This is terrible. That's why I'm so upset, really, because it's crazy what we're doing with the diaspora. Getting them into this disappointing discussion is terrible. I call for the diaspora to vote whatever is the law. This is the main thing. We cannot afford to wait. We cannot afford to postpone the elections. Please vote, register, go, and no matter what it is, get mobilized and do the voting.
In this episode, we tackle a heated and controversial battle that is being waged in Lebanon and across the diaspora, that some progressive members of parliament are calling the mother of all battles in Lebanon's upcoming 2026 parliamentary elections. That is, the right of the Lebanese expats to vote. With registration for diaspora voters closing on November 20, 2025, and elections scheduled for May 2026, we are at a critical juncture. The topics we will be covering in this edition with our guest, statistician Tarek Ammar, are the legal framework and historical context, what the data tells us about who might be the winners and losers, the voting patterns of voters based on historical evidence, opposition arguments, the diaspora's response, the technical challenges, and the risks associated with delaying the decisions, as well as the bigger picture. At stake is not just how Lebanese abroad will cast their ballots, but whether they will have a meaningful representation at all. The debate centres on a fundamental question. Should diaspora voters participate in electing all 128 members of parliament from their home districts, as they did in 2018 and 2022, or should they be limited to voting for just 6 MPs in a separate 16th electoral district, expanding parliament to 134 seats? Or perhaps they won't vote at all. Here's the background. In 2017, Parliament passed a law creating 6 special diaspora seats. The plan was for Parliament to expand from 128 to 134 members initially, then drop back to 128 in 2026 by phasing out 6 domestic seats. But implementing this proved tricky. Due to logistical challenges and fierce opposition from the diaspora, the system was postponed twice in both 2018 and 2022. Lebanese abroad instead voted for candidates in their original home districts, just like residential voters. Lawmakers promised that 2022 would be the last time expats voted for all 128 MPs. Well, next time is now, and that earlier consensus was completely unravelled. The stakes are enormous. In 2022, around 244,000 expats registered and roughly 60% cast ballots, a passionate constituency energised by the 2019 uprising and ongoing crisis. Many analysts credit those diaspora votes with helping elect 13 new independent change lawmakers that year. Civil society groups received 20% of their support from diaspora voters, the highest share among all political factions. Meanwhile, the Hezbollah Amal alliance received only 3 to 4% of their votes from abroad. The battle lines are now clearly drawn. On one side, Lebanese forces, Kataib, the Democratic Gathering Bloc, and independent Change MPs are pushing to let expats keep voting in their original districts for all 128 seats. A petition launched by 19 expat organisations has gathered over 15,000 signatures supporting this position. On the other side sit three opposing political parties: the Speaker of the House, Nabi Berri's Amal movement, Hezbollah, and Gibran Basil's Free Patriotic movement, who insist on enforcing the 6-seat plan. On June 30th, Berri blocked the proposed amendment from even reaching a vote in Parliament and has blocked many other attempts by MPs to add the item onto the parliamentary agenda to be discussed and voted on. Hezbollah MP Ali Fayyad has warned that his movement faces unfair disadvantage abroad due to sanctions and visa restrictions, threatening to challenge any law that puts them at a disadvantage. In early October, reports emerged of a possible compromise that would eliminate both the 6 diaspora seats and overseas voting entirely, leaving the diaspora with no vote at all. Today, we're joined by Tarek Ammar, a statistician, activist and 2022 parliamentary candidate who has been crunching the numbers on this very question. His recent study examined what would happen if expatriates were confined to the 6 new seats, and the findings challenge some of the assumptions on both sides of this debate. So, welcome, Tarek Ammar, and sorry for that long introduction, but we need to give people the understanding of what this debate is all about in this discussion. But first, before we dive into the questions, let me just give everyone a bit of a background on you, just a brief bio. Mr. Ammar, apart from being a statistician, activist and former parliamentary candidate, also serves as Regional Director at ARA Research and Consultancy, bringing extensive experience in research and analysis across the Gulf countries, with deep expertise in the political landscape of both Lebanon and Kuwait. His recent study, published in July of this year, analysing the impact of diaspora votes in the 2022 elections, has become a key reference point in this debate, offering data-driven insights that challenge commonly held beliefs, which is why we are talking to him today. Welcome again, Tarek.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you for the lovely introduction and for summing up a very complex situation in Lebanon, mostly to the diasporas, to our brothers, sisters, colleagues, friends who live there and their heart is still here. But yes, it is a lot of debate is running about that.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've sat down together, but it's wonderful to have this opportunity to sit again with you and catch up on something so critical and have your knowledge and expertise applied, because there are so many opinions and so many arguments, and as we said, there's emotion attached to this in the diaspora as well as people within Lebanon. But I wanted to offer an alternative perspective to this debate, and your study came at exactly the right time. Let's study using facts, numbers, and see what the outcome would be. So let's dive into it. But first of all, let's start with the legal framework.
All right.
Today, there's the law, the 2017 electoral law, that we've talked about and we've mentioned in a previous podcast. We've just dived into it, but I think it's important to remind people what the law said and why they've put forward this 6-seat provision.
All right.
So give us an understanding.
Okay, let me go back a bit. In Lebanon, diaspora was not voting. They used to send charter planes to bring, voters and so on. And it was a huge demand, especially that I don't think any family in Lebanon doesn't have a person working abroad. And we have around $8 billion every year that come from the Lebanese diaspora. It's one of the highest per capita in the world. So diaspora's attachment to Lebanon, their role, their importance is very, very important. And till 2017, so actually the first ever time that diaspora voted in Lebanon, where they live, was in 2018. And back then it was a real battle. And to tell you, maybe I give you some information, everyone was very happy with having the 6, additional parliament members representing the diaspora. And the ones who were against it were Birri and Jumlat, by the way.
Wow.
That's during the talk and discussion in 2017.
All
But
the other political parties were on board.
we're on board. Hezbollah was very close to the Aounist movement, and so they went with them, whatever they decide. But basically, those who were against having the 6 additional parliament members voting for specific parliament members and not for like any Lebanese for their areas were Birri and Jumlat. And everyone was very happy, including Lebanese forces were very happy. They were pushing for this law, everyone, and we were happy. And actually, we are very happy of that. And all of a sudden, we see today, yes, in 2018, they said it was new, and the 2018 election was postponed. It was supposed to be in 2017. It was postponed to 2018 to make these changes. And they said, well, we cannot now increase the number of parliament, etc. Let's do this voting. People can vote from wherever they live in the diaspora, but they vote for the 128 parliament member wherever their area is. So there was no such issue back then. And what disappointed me and made me work on this subject and do some, as you said, data-driven analysis was that a lot of even my friends, activists and parliament members went into this stream calling that this is disastrous, as if a disaster is happening, forgetting that we were all together fighting to have this law in 2017. We were on the streets calling for it before the Saura. We wanted expats to vote. And now the whole issue that is coming up is not because of representation. And here I want to say something to your audience. What is very important in election, in the law, is not simply the result of this year or the next year. What is very important in the election law actually formulates and creates the political, not parliament members, but how parties are created. So because our law is representing sects, most of our parties are based on sects. Because of our parties divided back then to the qada, so it's very small divisions. Back then, we had za'amet, people in what we call like almost tribal way of thinking. Feudal. And the law, when it changed back then in 2017 to become proportionate, we have only 15 now areas for voting. You will see more coalitions, more parties, bigger parties. So the law is not a simple matter of calculation. It really creates parties, and we know better parties, better creation of parties makes better politics and better countries. Countries which doesn't have political parties, I can name the US, for example. We only have 2, so it's not a real democracy in a continent almost.
Australia's the same.
It's the same in Australia.
And Britain.
Yes, so really the debate shouldn't be, simplified based on the result of 2022. When I choose a law, the first thing that should come to our mind, everyone, is not a temporary result. It is how we make good representation for the vision of the Lebanon we want. If you want a Lebanon that is not sectarian, a Lebanon where the Lebanese identity is unified, a Lebanon where people feel their identity is really not just restricted to a specific sect or area or so on, then the law that we create, make these changes.
But do you believe that the law is allowing for those changes?
No, of course it's not the, the judiciary or when the law was written, regardless of our point of view of this law. However, this law is much better than the law that was before, which was pluralistic. In Beirut, Madinati, we got 40% of the vote in the municipality. We got 0 seats. Okay, it was municipality. It's all right. That's it's another subject. But in 2017, the law permitted to have new faces in new areas. People never heard of them. Permitted for the first time to have electoral list When you think of electoral list, not individuals, you start thinking of organizing. You start thinking of what other people think. You start having dynamics. And this is an advantage. Of course, there's a huge problem about how you distribute these seats. For example, in Ashrafi in Beirut 1, you have one Maronite, one Catholic, one Orthodox, one Armenian Catholic, etc., and one minority, which makes almost, it's like a really pluralistic election. But in other areas, it's not the case. So we have a step forward. Today, the representation that we created in this country based on this law is based on two main factors. The first factor that comes is geographical, where you are from, okay, because we can live in Beirut but be from the north or wherever. And that's the first thing, and this is logical. I'm in research, and I know when I want to do proper sample to represent Lebanon, to make a study, I have to do sampling, and I have to say, well, I need 30 interviews, for example, in Tripoli, and 20 in Kura, and in Sur, 15, etc. So when you do geographical division, it's good because there are differences, and you say, I want to look into these differences to give them their place, which is fine. Okay, maybe I don't like it to have it so much, like 15, maybe smaller, maybe bigger. It doesn't matter, but we have it this way. And the second element that they put under what we call level 2 in statistics, they put the sects. So they gave seats for Maronite, for Shiite, for Sunnite, etc. in these areas. Okay, it could have been better. It's all right. That's
but wasn't
what
that the case before, or is that something they introduced?
No, it was always the case.
Always the case.
It was since during the French, the first constitution in 1926, and they said it's for temporary, based on temporary purpose. And actually, French didn't want to put it, but back then the patriarch, Maronite patriarch, he went into the street and he said, let's not delve into this, but I mean, it was put supposedly to be something, and even Ta'if said we will abolish this. Yes. It was supposed to be abolished just after the first parliament is appointed back in 1992, I think. But it's still there. I mean, me and you maybe don't like it. Yes, but this is what we have, and the propositions today are not about that. We are taking the discussion about a very important matter, which is the election law. The election law creates countries, make countries stronger. If you have a good election law that represents people, then people feel engaged. They feel it means to them. Their voice is heard. And this is a very important matter. It's not a simple matter. And I think what we suffered, civil war and so many things, is due to the bad law that was made back in 1926. I mean, with all how the constitution was written and so on back then. And the Ta'if, of course, was not applied. So the law is very important. And what is key for the law is to make it representative. And me, as a statistician, my job is to make representative things.
Do you believe this law is representative? This new 2017 law is representative, and it might have features, the proportional representation, which is there are some features that are positive and have shifted the political power balance, but is it serving Lebanon, the Lebanese?
Well, we can have different opinion. Of course, I don't consider this law as the best law that we can have. In my personal opinion, and as political activist, I always call to apply the Ta'if agreement, to have Majlis Shuyukh, which is representing the sects, and leave the parliament, which role is...
Like a Senate.
Like a Senate, yes.
They created the Senate. They've never created the Senate, which is part of Ta'if.
So I would have liked that the fight was for that instead of discussing where the expats should vote. And all this discussion is because, a simple thing, is because they think of the repetition of the result of the election of 2022. While, you know, the last time we've met, how many things since then happened? We were just after the Saura in 2022. Now we have so many things, wars, 1 year war with Israel, the whole changes, Assad is out. If you look even at smaller micro level, you know, how many parliament members who were with Michel Aoun is now, you know, they resigned. Ibrahim Kenaan, you know, plenty,
Alain Aoun, yes.
and many others. So the landscape, political landscape has changed. And these elements will change the results. So instead of making a fight based on an old results, instead of encouraging the diaspora to vote, to engage, to have discussion, I'm making a big issue that might disappoint, and that's my fear. Might disappoint the diaspora, and as you said,
we're going to get into
Yes,
it, aren't we?
okay.
Don't give away the,
No,
the
yeah.
punchline. Let's take everyone through so that they can understand it and follow the discussion. I just want to go back just a little bit and say this arrangement, postponing the diaspora diaspora seats twice, is it something of an exception in Lebanon that doesn't exist elsewhere? Or do other countries also struggle with implementing diaspora voting provisions?
Always there are pros and cons for everything. Some countries refuse the diaspora vote directly to the parliament members,
Right.
saying that the diaspora are affected and influenced by the countries where they live. And this is what you said a bit about the Hezbollah, I think, parliament member who said we are under pressure, etc. So it can push in one direction or another, and this is reality everywhere. And however, the other notion about diaspora voting is they are very important and they are distinctive than. I've left Lebanon when I was 23 to work in the Gulf countries, and I'm still, you know, working in the Gulf countries. So I know that we were never, ever asked about our opinion, not by the embassy, not by anyone. They just expected us to ship money, and then when there's voting, come and vote. No one thought, you know, in Philippines, for example, the advantages the diaspora gets is huge. When I wanted to bring my kids here to enroll them in schools, I was like, you know, begging. You have no, there are nothing for the diaspora, nothing, no in policies, nor in anything. So diasporas have needs. It's not true that diasporas, I have to confine them into the village they came from. You know, we as diaspora, as Lebanese, in spite of the divisions that were in Lebanon, we were all together in one hand. If one is out of his work, we all work to find them jobs, we support, and everyone does this for everyone else, regardless of their political views, background, and so on. So I think the diaspora is a bit different. It's a good glamour for Lebanon. Why do I wanna get it inside the streets discussions of Lebanon? So from statistical point of view, from representation, having 6 parliament member representing the diaspora voice, having diaspora becoming parliament member is good for the diaspora. It's good for Lebanon to have the diaspora point of view. Okay, instead of mixing them with wherever they come from into the Lebanese politics, which is very sectarian.
But so you're arguing for it, you're thinking there's benefits for it, and we are going to get into it. But just on that point, it doesn't mean that that the members of parliament in the seats where they are residing don't understand the diaspora, because they rely on that diaspora too, for Zahli, for Beirut, for whatever. They know how valuable that diaspora is to that seat, and those diaspora members really want to serve their hometown. They really want to support their hometown, and their interests are almost identical. But why why should it be separated from their interests locally? Because Lebanese are in the diaspora, most of them unwillingly. Most of them had to travel. Most of them feel like refugees, like they were forced. They would rather be home, and when they come home, they go to their village. Most of them all go to the village. So their interests really are rooted in their villages, and that's why there is this feeling of wanting to vote for the candidate that's going to look after their families who are in that area. And so, you know, we can argue about it, but I don't want to go too far into it because we'll get there. Okay. There is the issue of sovereignty and everything I wanted to talk to you about, but that's what I've heard, and I have a lot of connections, obviously, in the diaspora and listening to their points of view and why there's an argument for wanting to vote in their local, area. So
we can come to this, and I'll explain exactly the first when we spoke about the law itself and how important it is, and exactly what you are saying, and we will explore together, like what the value if the diaspora voted to their home village. Yes, there are advantages and disadvantages, and they voted to representative of diaspora. What changes? And I think this talk, let's all think together, okay? And of course, this discussion is to make people think and open their eyes based on facts, as you said, not fiction.
I want to bring us back to the facts, the numbers, rather than the theory and the philosophy, because everyone's theorizing, everyone's philosophizing. Let's look at the numbers. But let's just quickly run through. So in earlier this year, there were 67 MPs from various political parties, who, including Lebanese Forces, Kataib, the Progressive Socialists, and members of the Change and independent groups, who are asking for the law to be amended and allow for the diaspora to vote for the 128. Wanted to ask you something, whether you have insight on this, because I'm getting interesting commentary on it, that maybe not all 67 MPs and maybe not all these parties that are forming this alleged coalition to support the diaspora right to vote really are motivated. Maybe it's all smoke and mirrors. Do you, from what your understanding and connections, do you believe all those that have signed on and their political parties are very committed to ensuring the diaspora gets the right to vote for the 128? Or are they just making it look good so that the diaspora...
Look, I don't want to get into intentions. I want to remain into facts and figures. Okay. What I'm afraid of, regardless of their intentions, they can be the best intentions. What I'm afraid at this moment in time, the discussion about this framing the law as if it is a bad law, I'm afraid that many might be benefiting from this just to postpone the elections. Or to, as you said, just remove the voting of diaspora altogether, which would be terrible. We had big fights to reach in 2017 the diaspora vote. And let's put some figures. You know how many diaspora voted?
140,000 maybe?
Roughly. It's 8%, 132,000.
Out of the full...
It's 8% of all the voting. We had in Lebanon around 1.5 million who voted. We had 132,000 from diaspora. So it represents 8%. So it's not a big changer. It changes for few. Yes. I'm afraid all of this might lead us to fighting for a matter that is not worth it as Lebanese. What is worse, if I can increase diaspora voting from 8%, from 130 to 244,000 registered, in my opinion, based on some estimates, there are 1 million Lebanese who are registered as voters. I mean, in the
diaspora,
living in diaspora, who are in the
electoral rolls.
Exactly, who live abroad. So if this number increases to 500 who registered, and we have 250,000 who voted, isn't it more important? It's much more important to engage this diaspora, to talk to them, to have them, to have this relation with Lebanon. Yeah. And we come then, whether it is a parliament member where they only affect by 8%, or a parliament member who comes fully from them. Okay, I'll have 6 parliament members who are fully representing diaspora. A diaspora that is more let's say, living without the obstacles that we live in Lebanon, without the kind of political pressures put by the Zaim,
Yes.
by the hospitalization, by the education, by any type of care. These are very important to Lebanon, you see? So
I am going to
that's a
get into
question.
that. I am. Let's get through a couple of the foundational
Right.
questions. You noted in your article that neither side bases their argument on fair representation, but rather on calculations of political gain or loss. The 2022 results seem to have been a wake-up call to some of the parties. Okay, so now what I'd like is if you can walk us through what happened in 2022 that made the political establishment realise that the diaspora vote was not going to work in their favour and why there is this objection now.
Well, you know, now the government changed, so talking about who's opposition, who's not, because, for example, the Lebanese forces are fully represented in the government. They were not represented before. The Aounist movement is not represented anymore. So a lot of changes with the Joseph Aoun and Nawaf Salam new, let's say, statehood. Regardless of that, we see that 31% of these 130,000 or 115,000, sorry, who voted the diaspora, 115,000 only. And we are making all this issue. We might postpone the voting, the election. Okay, we need to increase it. That's what is more important. Regardless, we have 31% who voted for the change movement. The following ones just behind are the Uwait, the Lebanese forces, 23%. Okay, and the independent here, you can have names like they can be industrialists, they can be, feudal families.
Not only the change MPs.
No, not change. These
Michel
are independent.
Daher,
Example,
Osama
Makhzoumi. Right.
Those
So
people.
exactly. So they got 10%. Okay. So altogether, if we put them together, and that's I think the ball game here, you have around 63%, 64% of all diaspora votes went to these people. First, change movement, Lebanese forces, and then the independent people.
How much did Hezbollah and Amal
Okay,
receive
Hezbollah and Aman together, they got 15%.
out of the
The
total
115.
diaspora vote?
Yeah, so around 17,000 to 300 votes out of that. Okay, so we're talking about almost the distribution, okay, for these what I call the independent voters, the Lebanese, because the more you are not in Lebanon, you are more independent, you are more free. It shows us direction that they like to have a change. They voted mostly to the change.
Yeah.
Secondly, to the Lebanese forces.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is good. We see it. It's something that we should read as statisticians, as politicians. And as you said, it made up a wake-up call.
Just going on from there,
Right.
and your article, basically titled "Winners and Losers" of the expat vote, but there seems to be some tension in the narrative. Some say diaspora voters helped elect. From your statistics, we want clarity.
Yes.
Helped elect 13 change MPs, new
Right.
change MPs, while your research, as you've just said, suggests only a handful of MPs would have lost their seats
All right.
if the expats hadn't voted in their local districts, if they had voted for the six. I guess that's where your study was. And we'll go into it a bit more, but can you clarify what the data
Yes.
actually shows? How many seats were
Right.
genuinely decided by the diaspora vote? Just on that one.
Right.
How many seats were actually decided by the diaspora vote?
6
6 seats.
only.
And they were all change MPs?
No, actually not at all, because the diaspora, as we said, 31% voted for the change MPs and 69% voted for other, including 10% to the independent. Okay, so basically all of these issues we're talking about, we know, yes, if the diaspora votes for the diaspora, for the six, instead of where they come from, then the biggest loser will be the change MPs. We'll lose 3 change MPs. Okay, and again, other people will lose as well.
So this is the next question: is what seats, what races looking at concrete examples where the diaspora vote made a difference. And I think in your article you referred to Firas Hamdan's seat in the southern district.
We have, actually, in both Beirut, we have Beirut 1 and Beirut 2. We lose one in each. And in South 3, which is Firas Hamdan. So in Beirut 1, if you want to name, since you named Firas, Cynthia Zarazir, for example. And in Beirut 2, based on the result of 2022, which I think will not be the same in 2026, you have Waddah Sadek will not get his seat. So basically, if there were not the big votes in Beirut 2 for the change MPs, Waddah wouldn't be elected.
Right.
The same, and we know these are the fractions, and there was a lot of talks about saying no, and I think there were some people, I think Makhzoumi was claiming that he should have won the seat, etc. So we are talking about the fractions, and if to explain what is fractions.
We're coming down to the final, small votes.
Exactly, because in Lebanon what we do, we take the average of, of total number of votes divided by the number of seats. This is what we call hasil. So, and then
quota?
Which
that they have to pass?
They have to pass, and this is how many seats they get.
Right.
So usually people get 2.3, 2.1, 2.2, 2.8.
Percent or thousand?
No, 2.8. It's a figure. It's absolute figure. So I get 2 seats and 0.3 of a seat. And if my opponent gets, they get, for example, 3.1, since my fraction is higher, I get the seat.
Right.
Okay, and this is what happened in Diaspora. The change movement, or the list that won from the change group, got 2.4 or so, while the Lebanese forces got also 2.2. So we're talking about really a handful of, so these are fractions, not a complete number of votes that are enough to get a full seat. And all of this discussion about that. So even in our estimates, for example, in Tripoli, there's a seat that is for the people who are closer to, let's say, ex-Hariri, that might be lost, and won by those who are who were supported by the Aounists. But really, we cannot say, because we're talking about handful of votes. And definitely the result in 2026, after all the changes that happened, things definitely will be moving forward. So betting on all of this issue, we have 3 people from Change will lose, and one from the ex-Future, who will win, 2 for Amal and Hezbollah, 1 for patriotic movement or Aounist movement, and 1 for the independent. But really, it can really change. So we're talking about that, not more than this.
But that's still like, if Hezbollah got another 2 seats, Amal and Hezbollah or Hezbollah?
Amal and Hezbollah.
Amal and Hezbollah. So this would lift up their quota in the parliament, and then if Free Patriotic Movement, they're all in the same coalition, or they were previously. That's 3 more seats. That could give them the majority again back in Parliament, which they lost.
All this analysis, we are missing a very small thing. Okay, there are 6 new seats in the diaspora. Who will win these 6 seats?
Yes.
Okay? If 60%, 64% of the diaspora voted first to change groups. So let's say the change group, we lost 3 in Lebanon, okay? And maybe at least we win 2 in the diaspora, and you might win 3. So is it a loss?
How do you know that they would win? Because we still aren't sure what the mechanism is, and it's one of the questions.
No, I'm saying if they vote, okay, because we have 31% of the diaspora voted for the change.
But who selects the representative in the diaspora, these 6 seats? Who decides?
2017 law did not elaborate on this matter.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Intentionally.
In principle, it should be one list for all these diaspora. And where
approved by whom?
What do you mean approved by whom?
Who nominates the list? Who gets to go on that?
You can create a list, like you create a list in any district. It's like a district. So you make a list, and then if you get 20% of the vote of all voters, you get 20% of the seats. That's the principle.
Let's play this out, because
Right.
I can't get this around
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around it. What if the Hezbollah and Amal movement created a list
Yes.
of their people for each continent, and they had their representatives on a list in
You don't have a list in each continent, because each continent will have one seat.
Yes.
So you don't have a list. When you have one seat, there's one nomination, so there's no list.
Okay.
Okay? So that's why I presume, again, it's not written in the law yet, and the government unfortunately did not propose, the Ministry of Interior did not propose a real mechanism for this.
Yes.
So they threw it on the parliament, because the parliament should have done this, by the way, since 2017, and they did not. Basically, in principle, logically speaking, we should have, let's call it, we have today 15, the 16th district.
Yes.
And this is the world, where we have 6 seats to be won. However, there's dedication of seats for each continent. And there's, of course, association of these seats to the exact. For example, Africa will be Shia. Most probably France will be Maronite, or Orthodox maybe in North America. You know, it will be divided
So
for the
this
6 sects, main sects in Lebanon.
okay.
All over this, we'll give a quota.
So just let me.
Yes.
So say Africa is Shia,
Yes.
goes to the Shia.
Right.
We're back to religious politics again. But let's say, if the change movement was trying to win this Shia seat in Africa,
Right.
they would nominate a candidate who is Shia to stand in Africa or to represent Africa. The Hezbollah and Amal movement would recommend somebody. The Lebanese forces would have their nomination. Is that what you're saying? They would all
Yes.
find someone to stand as their representative?
Yes. So you'll have a list. For example, the change movement will have 6 candidates, one
of
in each
particular
continent.
religious
Depending,
sect,
the
wherever.
quota they put it. I think this is the most logical. And based on the result of 2022, if the change movement have 31% of these votes, and maybe I think it will increase because they are the most, recognized to be present in all these continents. The other will have, for example, will have difficulties to be in all the continents. So 31%. If you have, it's like 2 seats, because why I'm saying it's to explain to
Yes.
to the audience, because if I have 6 seats, if I divide 1 by 6, I get 16.6%, or let's say 17%. So if I get 31%, if I divide the 31% by the 16%, how many doubles I get? Almost 2. Right? I almost get 2. I need 16% of the vote to get 1 seat. If I have 32% of the votes, I get 2 seats. Hezbollah got, and Amal together, they got 15%. So maybe they get 0 seat. If more Diaspora voted, and then the 15% will be 13% or 12% if Diaspora was mobilized correctly to vote. So whatever Hezbollah won and Amal won 2 seats in Lebanon, but maybe they got 0 seat
In the
or
diaspora.
maximum 1 seat in the diaspora. Their objective is to reach 1 seat. It's not guaranteed. Us as change movement, almost we have guaranteed 2 seats. We should work on 3. So whatever we lose inside, we win outside. And I'm representing what is more important. I'm representing a new mentality, those of Lebanese diaspora, those who are independent from the pressures put by the regime here on the people. And having this is very important to make change, to make, the whole thinking of thinking differently is to have the diaspora together thinking, not to put them in Zahle or in Zaroub, I don't know which street or whatever politics.
But
let them think together.
support this idea, but don't you, they're 3 people, or
Right.
say they're 4 people,
Right.
in now a parliament of 134.
Yes.
We had the problem with the 13 change MPs. Out of 128, they couldn't do anything because they don't have the majority. How do you expect 2 or 3 diaspora representatives who people will say are completely disconnected with the reality on the ground in Lebanon, and they're going to have to vote on issues related to the ground and
Yes.
very important to Lebanese citizens in Lebanon? You know, how are they going to really make a difference? Understand that, yes, they'll bring their mentality, and we've seen a lot of diaspora come back. Most of the ministers in the current government
It's
are
very
diaspora.
true. Yes. So if I'm taking diaspora to take decisions in executive positions like in government, I cannot trust diaspora to take decisions in legislative matter where it's slower and it takes time, they can consult and so on. Of course I can trust it.
Of
So
course you can.
the issue boils down to what? I don't agree with you that the 13 were not enough because they don't have majority. Then we are thinking that we cannot make a change unless we are a dictatorship. It's not true. You know, the Lebanese forces had maybe 2 rounds before, they had 11 MPs. And they grew, and they are present, and they affect the politics, they influence. Thinking of majorities just by single party is not really a real politics today, except in certain countries that claim democracy and are not democratic. The way you work, you have to work with your colleagues from different angles. If you have a project, you work on a project. And we saw in the parliament,
Yes.
people voting together, even if they are not in the
Yes.
same parties. But what we saw as well, and this is a terrible thing, that the 13, even the 13, did not work together. And they could not create an opposition. They could not create even
A bloc.
a bloc that helps Nawaf Salam in re-establishing the institutions, and on the contrary. For example, with all my respect to all those who reached the 13, in Beirut 1, we lose Cynthia Zarazir. I'm asking now for the change group. Would that make a huge difference? I'm saying no, because even Cynthia, Paula, and Cynthia and Paula actually in
Yes,
Beirut
that's right.
too. And you have Melhem Khalaf and Ibrahim Naimni and Waddah Sadek in Beirut too, right? We are talking 5. It's the highest number from all districts. They don't talk to each other. So the issue is not numbers. The issue is thinking, organizing, and how we do it.
And this comes back to, you're saying the reason the Lebanese forces have grown and were able to succeed even with 11 members of parliament and now grown to 19, 20,
yeah.
is because they're a political party who vote on issues as one bloc. They don't have personal opinion, which is a problem with independents or individuals. And if I'm challenging you here because the result of the 2022 elections, if these 13 change MPs were a political party voting together and forced to vote together on issues and had signed off on policies and platforms, where would Lebanon be today? Where would the conversation and their image and encouragement and the people supporting them or feeling buoyed by the results be compared to what we see now? As you said, they've split into 3. Some are not even involved in discussions, but they have every right. And again, I can't criticise them because they're independents. They've come from certain areas where their rooted constituents require a different...
I criticize them. I disagree with you. I fully criticize them because they didn't come because of their individual personalities. They came based on your work, my work, the work of Diaspora, the work of all the Lebanese activists, the Lebanese population, based on clear slogans that we raised during the Thawra. They didn't come because they're Mr. X or Mr. Y. They came because supposedly they were representing this movement. However, many of them weren't really representing this, and this needs another session, by the way.
It's a very good point.
But I criticize. I have full right to criticize, and we don't have to be from the same party to be able to work together when we have shared values that were raised in the Saura. You know, getting back the money.
Yes.
It's not a big challenge to this, you know, to have an agreement. There's no agreement on it. You know, I think this is the basics. Getting to
the depositors' money back.
Putting the bank's owners as the first responsibles. You know, we have a depositors union who are activists from the Saura. Who helps them from the parliament at the new 13? Very few, by the way. And so on and so on and so on. No, they were not elected because of who they are. They were elected because they were shown on TV that these people represent the Saura. This is what happened. And it's wrong. And we need to have a political program. We need to have at least main principles of values. One of these values, for me personally, is having a proper law, election law, because this is very important. And I don't put the election law for discussion and criticizing this, the whole law and the mechanism just because I'm thinking I need to get these 2 seats or 1 seat there. This is not who we are. We are people who want to have establishment, to have a government, and everything in a parliamentary country. Lebanon is a parliamentary country. The government cannot do anything without the parliament. So it's very essential to have a proper law that represents people. This is the first thing. I don't go into the details, who wins what, that might change next time. And we saw this throughout. I told you in 2017, the same people who were for this distribution now are against it because they feel, well, I can get this or that here. This is narrow politics that I don't want the diaspora to get into. I want the diaspora to be a bloc together who is more unified. We saw the diaspora how unified they are. They gave us hope. Actually, the proper voting that happened in the diaspora gave a lot of hope to the Lebanese to vote properly. I mean properly, sorry for the word, but I mean to engage in voting.
Yeah.
So yes, we need to think, we need to have values, and these values are the common values for the change groups. I cannot be, let's say, in Lebanese forces, and at the same time believe that, to abolish the sectarian voting. This is how they think. Why in the change group we should accept people who do not put the responsibility on the owners of banks? No, it is one of the first slogans and demands for the revolution. The port explosion. We see that who's working on what, and the way of working is very important as well.
Let's get back to your point about the parliament.
Yes.
No, the point about the parliament. Lebanon is a parliamentary republic.
Right.
The power is in the parliament. But even now, we see it so clearly. Nabi Berre stops any real discussion or any whatever doesn't suit his needs or his wants or his politics doesn't get onto the agenda. It doesn't get discussed despite majority of MPs signing off on this law. For instance, just as an example. So how do you bring real democracy back into the parliament when it's hijacked by, one man's longest serving Speaker of the House in the history of humanity, any country? How does that change?
I think the big change should happen from the parliament and from outside the parliament. Nabih Berri wouldn't dare to do that if he feels or if he saw that the parliament members today have strong representation and they can mobilize the streets. When we were
in Lebanon or
in Lebanon, if we were able, every time, and that's how you build. You should have a narration. You should explain to the people why this is important, instead of putting them in small battles that are worthless. Today, did any of these parliament members talk to the general public and call them to stop what Berri is doing? Zero. And once I spoke to one parliament member, long time back, before 2022, before all of these issues happened, and I was saying, each 2 years, you can put Birri, to confidence vote. And I was telling this MP, please do that. Please do that. No? Do you want me to stay outside? He will not let me go inside ever. I said, I don't care if you go inside ever. We are outside anyway. This was during the Saura, by the way. And so you need people who dare to apply what is written in the bylaw of the parliament. We see Malham Khalaf, sometimes he raised his voice. Who helps him? No one. He stayed 300, I don't know how many days alone. They didn't care because the same people, would it be Lebanese Forces Parliament member, would it be Tebal Jumblat, the Parti Socialiste, would it be whoever, they don't attack the matter fully because they might use it as well. Blocking the parliament, all of the story about you should have, 86 parliament member to elect a president is not true. This is first round. You don't each time you count a first round. This is ridiculous. No one really talks about it. Maybe only
we did a lot. I mean, I was covering
this.
We tried to educate people on the.
It's terrible.
But no one stayed in the parliament. I mean, he wouldn't allow the second round of vote. The Hezbollah, Amal, and Free Patriot left the parliament, so we had no quorum.
Exactly, but this is not true, and this behavior by Birri is possible because Birri sees that we don't have an opposition, a real opposition, a strong one, and the strongest one that, let's say, was in opposition was the Lebanese forces, which is organized. But Birri and Samir Jaja coordinate a lot. You know that Samir Jaja told his partisans, and it's public, I'm not saying something that is confidential, for South 3, one of the most important electoral districts, not to vote. He instructed publicly, don't vote in 2022. What does it mean? It means supporting Hezbollah and Amal. That's what he did. This is the type of parliament or political parties. So we should not throw ourselves into hands. We should work together, yes, with everyone based on project, on whatever. But we should build as change groups, especially I'm talking like this about Diaspora because the majority of them are with the change groups, to think in a way that makes influence. You don't need the majority. Those who are looking for majority, no one gets majority in Lebanon. No one ever. You need to make coalition, and this coalition can get majority. And you can make coalition based on things that are clear, that you work on it, you convince people, and the people will influence the parliament member.
Let me ask you this. Would it be more powerful to have 5 MPs, change MPs, come into the next parliament as individuals, or would it be better if they were a part of a political party committed to the policies and voting together? What would be more powerful for Lebanon?
Yes, very interesting, and I'll try to answer objectively, not as activist myself. Thinking that the change parties, parties in Lebanon.
Party. It doesn't matter whether they change, whatever, progressive, reformist, whatever we want to call it.
One of the biggest problem of Lebanon, and that's why the Saura, we couldn't have really a voice that represent the Saura, was there's no more parties, political parties. What we had a skeleton of what remained after the civil war. Nothing came. And then after the civil war, we had the Syrian sitting 15. So we had 30 years. It's a generation where you have no political work. 30 years. You had 15 years of civil war, where, of course, all political parties became militias, except few who left the country. Okay. And then you have the Syrian regime sitting on us, not being able to do any politics. So you have this gap. And that's what we suffer. And I think the most important thing is to bridge this gap, to get organized. And I don't want to say we, I want to say for these change MPs, yes, they should come from groups. We don't need more za'amet. We need people who can work with others.
We need to change the dynamics and the face of politics in Lebanon.
Exactly.
We have these old political parties, but we need an injection of new political
A new
parties.
way. We
a
see,
new way.
we
That's
see
right, the
repetitions.
future.
You cannot
But it
claim
can't
to
be through
a change.
individuals. It has to be together, working on a platform, policies. Because my
Program.
understanding, walking into on the streets, from the Bekaa to the Jnoub to the Akkar to Trablus, wherever I go, and I was on the ground during the elections, and even to this day, people are reluctant. And I was going to ask you a question. I will ask you about the numbers. They want to know who they're voting for and what are they going to do for me.
Yes.
Why would I vote for this person? Change means nothing anymore. We know that right now the next elections are not. If you campaign on change, you're not going to win. People will ignore you. What they want is, how do you help me?
Yes.
I don't have a job. I don't have food to put on the
Right.
table for my family. I don't have healthcare. I don't have means to get to work. There's no roads, transport. They need fundamental education for their kids.
Yeah.
Who is speaking about this?
You know, what you said is the core issue, and all of this is not by chance. You know, when I went even in 2016 for the municipal election in Beirut, the first thing people were saying, so what you will give me? What I want to give you? Nothing. You should give me. I'm representing you. Why? You know, and this dynamic is very, very important to understand. But this is not by chance that Lebanese think this way. It's created by the regime. We spent a lot of time, like 2 years, analyzing all of these and coming up with how you make a change. And the first thing is people to recapture their ability to be independent from the need of clientelism.
100%.
Because they need, you cannot go to a person. I ask many people not to vote for me, you know, from my family, because they need care. Their grandchild needs $1,000 medicine every month, etc. Of course, no, it's very go there. So we live in a country where you are born in a sectarian hospital. You go to school, mostly to sectarian school. But what is more important than that? Who pays these schools? The law makes us pay them. The law, I have a private company. I pay for the daman, for the insurance, for security, social security. It's by law. I have to pay 25% of their salaries every month, right? And the daman pays these sectarian hospitals, not for the public hospitals. So by law, you have to finance all what is sectarian. And then you go to university. Now it's the same. Universities belong to sects, to Za'amet, to, Berri has university,
Hariri had,
etc., all of them. You have to go there. And then when you graduate, you have to work. And here, again, you have this. So Lebanese are put like in a net. You are imprisoned in the system. And it's very hard to get out of it. And that's why I always think of the diaspora as people who had to leave. I had to leave to work. And they worked outside. They made their life outside. So they can think outside this net. Unlike, as you said, when you went to these people, they tell you, what's in it for me? They need direct benefit. They don't need long-term project and plans.
But you're saying then that that's why the system will perpetuate, because we're dependent upon this system that is already so tightly intertwined with the sects and the zaims. But we started breaking it. And we have a new government.
Yes.
We have a new president who isn't part of the past.
Yes.
And we have new ministers who are trying to break this. We can't do it in one session, in one era, in one sitting of government. And this government only has less than a year. But we need to build on that. And what I'm trying to say is that shouldn't we be building political parties that stand on policies and come to the people and say, if you vote for me and our party, in your areas, we are going to fight for your rights, for your money to be returned from the banks, for you to have healthcare, for you to have education, for you to have whatever, all of the fundamental basic needs that, this is what I'm used to. This is what I hear. Australia, America, this is their jobs policy. Even though they bullshit, excuse the French, they come out with these campaigns in America, Australia, Britain, all of it. They know how to play the game. But here, we're a small country. We can fix ourselves up very quickly if we got our act together. But they don't campaign on issues. They campaign on, I'm anti-Hezbollah or anti-Iwet or anti-whatever.
Opposition vote, which is wrong.
Which is crazy. And this is what the people need to... People are aware of it. The parties are not doing it. People on the streets and in the diaspora are aware of it. That's why we need people who are going to stand up and campaign on policies.
So we're coming closer to...
We're getting off track, but this is the reality. Let me go back to the diaspora.
Yeah.
Just quickly, do you think that there's going to be a high number of registrants for the next elections? Like now we're in registration mode.
Yes.
We've got till November 20 for the Lebanese diaspora to vote. We're having an argument whether we should be encouraging the diaspora to vote, because some say if you get them to sign on, you're agreeing to the government 6 seats. If we need to stand firm and demand that the law changes, and then if there's no hope, then they register at the last minute.
This is terrible. That's why I'm so upset, really, because it's crazy what we're doing with the diaspora. Getting them into this disappointing discussion is terrible. I call for the diaspora to vote whatever is the law. This is the main thing. And yes, if you cannot come to Lebanon, please register. Please. And don't wait for a change of the law. We cannot afford to wait. We cannot afford to postpone the elections.
Is there any possibility the law can change?
Personally, I'm afraid that what is more probable, because of this rupture and this discussion, is the postponement of the elections. Will be easier for them, and it's being prepared, by the way, than changing the law. Or not changing, actually, making an amendment, a small amendment.
Postponing it to claim that they need more time to prepare the logistics?
They make up many stories, they can do that simply by putting whatever reasons.
Who benefits from a postponement?
Look, it's very interesting, and we try to analyze this. And there are always different arguments that come up. Of course, all the parliament members who are now there and happy will be happy. I think the patriotic movement is not happy with the elections because, of course, will not be a strong group of representing, let's say, what he used to claim to be representing the Christians in the Orient, by the way, not only in Lebanon. So I think he will lose that, and they know that, and there are risks for their key leaders to lose. There's, in principle, of course, the changed MPs it's not in their interest. I mean, direct, small interest, narrow interest to have elections, but I'm confident that if for the values they represent, that they call for democracy to continue and to continue all the constitutional deadlines to be met and not to postpone anything. And I bet on many of them will not accept any postponement, even if this means they will lose their seat. But in principle, yes, they lose. Basically, they are disfavored in this election. The Lebanese forces, you have two arguments. One is they can win more seats, and they can show that the patriotic movement is much smaller than them. So in principle,
it's in their interest.
It's in their interest
to go to elections.
Because they are very connected to regional politics and so on. Maybe they like to keep the current government because they are very strong in the current government. So there's a balance. Do they keep
Yeah.
the ministries, they have today in their hands and postpone the elections, so they do things in these ministries, like all the talks that are going everywhere, and then to show that they could achieve things, and then make the elections. Because if elections happen, the government will change, and definitely the Lebanese forces will not represent alone. As much, and they will not be represented as much in the government and having these key ministries.
They can't be guaranteed of the same ministries, a number.
Because Basile withdrew, that's why they got more ministers inside. So it's like their best time. So this is for Hezbollah. There is, in my opinion, still, since we can say that the blood is still on the field. There is a lot of emotions. There is a lot of feelings of being attacked and being, under kind of extermination. If the elections happen today, they'll get a lot of vote. So
because it'll be sympathy vote.
Sympathy vote. Plus, there's a fear vote. Sympathy and fear, because
yeah.
all the, so to speak, Shia feel that they are, becoming as a target,
yes,
which is very bad. And we as Lebanese, and I think the Lebanese, how they received the displaced people and so on, was amazing. It was a very clear message of unity and so on,
right,
that we should build on. But we didn't see it in the narrative of the politicians, by the way. So basically, I think it will confirm their places, or they like to have the election. Of course, Berre doesn't like it because, again, him running and the issue of the head of the parliament. Again, Hezbollah might fear that they might lose a Shia parliament member, and the bargain that will happen with who will head the parliament, etc. So there are pros and cons on everything. What is terrible is to fuel this discussion in a direction that might lead to postponing the election. That's why the call is the changes, whether Diaspora vote to all Lebanon or to the 6 MPs, the bottleneck, we're talking really one here and one there. Change group lose 3, they win 2 or 3. Of course, if 2022 is repeated, we know that many things happened afterwards, and the votes will be different. But based on the law itself, Uwait will win 1 in Ashrafiyya, they lose 1 in Bekaa. Not major changes. And if Hezbollah win 2 here, Hezbollah and Aman will win 2 here, the change groups and the Uwait will win the vast majority in the Diaspora. So really not a big change, as important as to go back to where we started. What matters is the law, and the law drives the politics into direction. And in my opinion, having 6 seats for the Diaspora is a new element in the parliament of Lebanon that we need. We need the Diaspora vote. We need the Diaspora thinking. And we need to keep the Diaspora out of the small Lebanese politics.
Are there candidates, change candidates, reform candidates, who will win whether or not it's the Diaspora votes? Like a Paula Yacoubian. I look at the independents too, like Fouad Makhzoumi, who works closely with Change, and Osama Saad and some others, Shadr al-Masoud, part of the same sort of movement. They're more aligned with the change and reform. Are they likely to get back in? I'm just trying to understand, you're trying to say that of the MPs we're trying to, or seats that we're trying to retain or hold on to, and why we need to vote for the 128, part of the strategy. The belief is, like I said, they want to vote where it counts for them. You're saying we're only talking about a few seats, 2 or 3 seats that could be lost to change. But could they be gained if we had political representation in Lebanon among change and reform, or whatever you want to call them, independent MPs, who stood together on a platform, on policies? Could we minimize the loss, or could we gain from it? Because
There are two elements in this question. If you are talking about now the law, and we are basing our argument on 2022 results, only 3 MPs from the 13 will be affected.
Firas Hamdan, Cynthia Zarazir, and
Waddah Sadek.
Waddah Sadek.
Okay. Let's tell them the other ones because they might be interested.
Bilal al-Hashimi would have also not won command.
Bilal al-Hashimi, yes. Sharbi al-Mas'ad. Possibly, but it's not very sure. Jamil Aboud and Trablus. Okay, and those who will win, who would have won, okay, it's Eli Sharbashi, who is Uwait in Beirut 1. Abdel Latif Hitani, who is with Makhzoumi in Beirut too. So it doesn't go to Hezbollah, for example. Shiban Haikal in Tripoli, as we said, with minor difference. Ibrahim Azar and Jazin would have won.
Was that Hezbollah?
Ibrahim Azar, very close to Birri.
To Birri, Amal, right.
Marwan Khairuddin would have won instead of Firas.
And he's pro-Hezbollah. He went on he campaigned on pro-Hezbollah.
Marwan, he paid the 14 million to get Riyad Salami out of prison, and now he is under questioning where he got this money from.
Wow.
Marwan Khairuddin was called by the French court for testifying, and he's still under investigation. Marwan Khairuddin has a bank, and it has a lot to do with the robberies that Riyad Salami did. So he's closer to Irslan. I think that's why he lost. Even though now Walid Jumblat is trying to be the father of all Druze, and we might be
uniting them,
supporting him and trying to protect him from being questioned in Lebanon. So he would have won, and I think he was betting on being a parliament member, so he's not questioned because apparently he did a lot. And Ammar Halablab, the last one, he would take the other seat from Bilal al-Hashimi in Zahle. So you see, but going back to your question, for the expectation for the coming elections in 6 or 7 months, hopefully, the changes are dramatic. The expected changes are dramatic for everyone. We saw what happened with with the war with Israel, the changes that occurred on the ground. You have now many politicians who were in Bekaa and the north who were pro-Syrian. We don't have Bashar al-Assad anymore. We don't have Syrian regime, and this makes a huge difference in voting. And by voting, I mean it's not only what the faces, it means the directions and what they will do. Because in the end, we saw a lot of people who were on one camp, the next day they were on the other. Okay? And these shifts are indicative of major change in voting. I mean, they will not stand. Maybe you will have some similar faces, but their discourse will be different. And that's what matters. And that's what will push to have this majority kind that we're looking for through alliances, through working with these people. And these influences, whether it be the Syrian regime, would it be other matters, the issue of Hezbollah arms and the use of the arm inside Lebanon and so on, which definitely got weakened by big time, you'll have more free people to elect, and they will vote in a different way. So we should, no matter what the results are, we should not think of just results. We should be committed to the the deadlines, the democratic process, the constitutional deadlines of having elections in May 2026. It should not be postponed. The law that everyone applauded in 2017 says we'll have 6 parliament members representing the diaspora. In my opinion, it's a big change for the future of Lebanon, regardless who wins it. I don't want to get into this, even though we have big chances there, but it will make a big change in the Lebanese politics. Having these people, even 6, yes, they are minority, but behind them there's diaspora. No one will dare to tell them no. You will see it. So that's the turning point. That's what we should think. I don't think now I lose Cynthia Zarazir or I win I don't know who here or there. I think a change. What does it mean to have in the law these people where the change groups have the majority have dedicated seats? And this is very important.
It's interesting. It really is. Listening to you present it in such a way, it's a strong argument. Tell me, looking at other countries, we have France and Tunisia that have representation in a similar way that the Lebanese are trying to
Many countries
implement.
actually. In my study, I wrote about France because Ibn al-Hanoun, our mother, So in France, actually, you vote for 11 the diaspora. I think there are, if I'm not mistaken, around 1 million diaspora, French diaspora. They vote to 11 deputy who are dedicated, again, by zones. They have these zones. The highest in the world is Tunisia. Tunisia, 18%. And it changes based on the number of Tunisians who are registered as expatriates.
How many expats are there?
18%.
No, but how many people?
That's what they do. They look each term.
Okay.
How many Tunisians are living outside?
Okay.
If they represent 18%, then 18% of the parliament will be voted from these people. And this is to show the importance of diaspora and to show how you can represent diaspora. And I don't understand the fear, the refusal. No one from these people, from even the diaspora group that I have full respect, came and explained valid reasons why the diaspora should not vote to dedicated MPs and they should vote in their hometown or village.
No one
explained.
No one explained it to you? Or not convincing enough?
No, I mean, you just told me, someone told you that they like to vote where they come from because they like to have a say in their village, right? I bet you, if you ask any person, what's the name of the parliament member that represents you in your areas, very few will remember. Because they voted based on political directions. Those who are with the change, they were asking who to vote for.
That's right.
Okay.
It's true.
It is political, and we need it to be political. It's not a bad thing to have political and less individualistic representation. People want people who represent directions and movement. Why not to represent other things as well? Okay. And this attachment to hometown is not restricted if I only vote where I was born. Most of these people don't even live in the villages where they are registered. Unfortunately, we have this issue in Lebanon. We vote where we are registered, even though we never been there. Okay, and this is another stance. Even people who are in diaspora, I'm telling them, look, you have to vote where your grandfather was from. Some people don't know where it is, by the way. So why we are doing this?
It's very different in Australia.
Yes.
In Australia, we can vote. It's compulsory, even if you're living abroad. And the elections happen, you have to register at the embassy and vote. But we can move depending on where our residential address is. I've just moved, my home in Australia to another area. I've registered in that area so that I vote for the candidate that represents
the area where I live.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, this is what we're talking about here. But you're right about the Lebanese diaspora. 1 million of them are eligible to vote, but 1 million of them do not come back to Lebanon, and 1 million of them don't have that consistent contact with the country. But there's probably 200 to 400, 500,000 that are in regular connection. But it's interesting about France and Tunisia, and that is something that's been going on for a very long time now. How long has the diaspora representation in those countries and others been in place, and how effective is it? The people are happy with it? Does it work for them?
Yes, actually, this type of voting was considered as a progressive matter. Why? Because look what happens. If I am a king, let's say, or a kingdom, there is no election, but let's say I'm a false democracy. I prefer that the diaspora votes as if they are not diaspora, because I don't want to have more votes, more voices. I can contain, as we said, 8% of the votes were from diaspora, only 8%. Okay? So if I distribute these 8% over all Lebanon, actually they will not, they affect the fractions, as we said, in the results. But what is more important, I don't create new leaders who are coming from diaspora. Where do our leaders come from?
You're not actually creating new, you're saying the problem is you're not creating new leaders.
Yeah, if I keep on voting to the existing 128 parliament members, and I'm not giving the diaspora a quota of representation, what if I am Walid Jumblat? Why Walid Jumblat will not like to have a Druze being elected, let's say in the diaspora, from the diaspora, representing the diaspora, because he has no say
Control
there.
over them.
He has no control.
But maybe
Zero.
he does.
No, he doesn't.
Because maybe
No,
he's
figures
going
show
to
that.
push and put money behind a candidate in wherever the continent is that the Druze will have a leader.
Well, it's much more difficult, much more expensive anyway. So I doubt they have the influence they have in Lebanon. So they don't want it. A typical leader doesn't like to have a new voice coming up because it's a source of new leaders. They hate it. Everywhere, in all political analysis we do, not only, in Lebanon, whenever they can contain, they love it.
It's an unknown quota.
It's unknown. They cannot send you someone to tell you don't run for elections today, stay home. They do that here. So they don't want that.
Interesting.
And this is what the law brings us. And we should not just shoot ourselves in the foot just because of narrow analysis of results. It's very narrow. What happened during these 4 countries is much bigger than the diaspora where they vote. And it's very important for us to have the possibilities to create new leaders who are not sitting in the village. Sorry, you like the village, come to the village, ahla wa sahla. But in the end, we need something else as well. Because there's 1 million diaspora registered. Of course, diaspora is much bigger. The registered diaspora, let them have a voice. Tomorrow we'll have 500,000 who register. We'll have 300 who will vote. It will make a big change, believe me. We will ask for 10 more seats for diaspora, 15 seats like in Tunisia. Why not? It will make a huge change. But here they don't want it. They want to keep it under their control.
Interesting. Maybe this is reverse psychology. Maybe the parties really don't want the expat vote in the 6 seats, and they're trying to...
They're blocking it in a...
And they will block it. But let's look at the logistics of technical
Yes.
and practical implementation of
Right.
the 6-seat law.
Yeah.
We touched on it before.
Right.
And you're saying it's got to go back to Parliament for the parliamentary committee responsible for the elections is supposed to devise the system of how this implementation of the 6-seat law will transpire. The Minister of Interior said we have no idea how this is going to be implemented. Parliament should have done this, and so it can't happen. But you're saying that, say it goes ahead, say everyone says, all right, make it happen.
As 6 new...
How are they going to logistically, practically implement this law and make it happen?
There are a lot of options. I hope they don't go to the single vote option, but they can do that. So separating the 6 continents, which will be terrible, which is against the spirit of the law we have.
They'll do whatever makes it easier for them and best for them.
Look, in calculations, it doesn't matter. Logistics it doesn't change. You need to prepare people to come and vote. What changes is how you calculate. Okay? So if you tell people you vote for a list or for one person, it's the same. I will get their answer. It's a list or the person, and preferential vote and so on.
So a list is a range of candidates you can vote for.
Basically, if they stay within the spirit of the law, they should create like a 16th district where all the 6 continents are in it, and the 6 continents they can keep it open. They can make it as what we call here the second district. Like Jbel Kisirwain. It's one district. However, people from Kisirwain can choose only from Kisirwain, and people from Jbel can choose only from Jbel. This is the Qada region, even though the list is one. So the first calculation is for the whole list. And so we can have it the same. You'll have the whole world, the 16th district is one list. I calculate based on it. But the preferential vote, if I'm living in Africa, I vote for the candidate in Africa. If I'm living in America, my preferential vote will be for those who are representing America. And I can keep it open. Logistically, it doesn't matter. The calculations will differ. That's as simple as that.
Are you saying they get 2 ticks?
They can.
They get a vote for
like
the primary candidate that they would want to represent the diaspora. Is that what you're saying?
There's a list. If they want to stay within the spirit, it's like you have a new district. Like, I'll take Ashrafiyya because it's dear to my heart, okay? Let's call it Ashrafiyya, this whole word, okay? And we have in it 6 seats. Each of these seats, you can have 6 candidates as a list. In Ashrafiyya, you can have 4 candidates. You don't have to have a full list, okay? So you apply the same rules.
Right.
You don't have to change the rules. And for the logistics of it, it's the same. I will have centers for people to come and vote, like they did in 2018
But it's
and
the
2022.
candidates that's the issue. Who puts their name up? Who puts their name up in Asia Pacific or in North America or
who can run? The law, every Lebanese who
but
has
you have to be of a certain religion to be selected for Africa or Asia or whatever.
Well, this is what they have to bring a quota. Okay, so for example, for Africa this, and for America, like we have in Jbel, you have 1 Shia and 2 Maronite. In Kisirwain, you have 5 Maronite. You have this already in Lebanon. We have this distribution, so they have to do it.
But each political party would want to have their Shia representative win in Africa, their Maronite representative win, so they get that seat for them.
To win first, you have to win on the district. So, for example, Hizb Allah and Amal, with their current number of votes, they have 15.5%. They don't pass this threshold, so they get 0. I'm saying again,
based on the 2022
results and keeping the same spirit, like in Lebanon, the current law. The current law is the number of votes divided by the number of seats. Okay, so if we take the 115,000 who ran, they got it's like almost 16,000 vote for 1 seat. They didn't get 16,000. Okay, so they're out, and then you make the recalculation. It's like we do it in Ashrafiyya. It's the same way. So I'll distribute the 6.
So we just vote for instance, the diaspora just votes for change, but they've got to vote for a list.
Yes, and they can put the candidate, since it is 1 seat per continent, so automatically it goes to them.
So a list could be, sorry, I'm just got to get it through my head because it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not working. It's not getting in here.
Yalla, I'll try to make it work.
Change or reform or progressives, whatever you want to call them, would put a list together. But the list isn't just for North America.
No, for the whole world.
The list is for 6 candidates from around the world.
Right.
And the Druze would do the same thing. Would they put a list?
You
But
mean
you're saying that
Jumblat? You mean
Jumblat or
Jumblat,
whatever
yeah.
the-
Yes, he'll do. I'll tell you what Jumblat will do. Jumblat will make an alliance with Uwait, okay, and with some independent, and with Future, and they'll make a list. All the three together.
You guys will get this one, we'll get this one, you get
And
this one.
they'll see
Split.
whoever there is on their votes, and they'll get it. It's more complicated for them, as I said, because they have, like in the Gulf, for example, we know the Future movement is stronger, et cetera. So it's not simple for them, and that's
No.
why they hate it. Okay, so let's think wisely. Logistic-wise, it doesn't change. It's like 2018 to 2022. The calculation changes. I think, and I hope it will be, if from the same spirit of the current law, 16th district, you have 6 candidates, 6 seats. They are distributed geographically and sect-wise. Okay, so basically, if I'm expat in Africa, and when I vote to a list, automatically my preferential vote is for the candidate of Africa. You know, I don't need even to stick it in principle. Okay, that's maybe they can decide. No, you can. These are the distribution. However, it's one district. There are no sub-district. I don't know what, but they can do it. It's all right. These are simple matters.
Right, that's not going to influence the final result, impact it greatly.
It doesn't. It's between people, whether this guy won or that, you know. In politics, this should not matter much.
We raised the point of whether this might blow up and there may be no election next year. What would cause there to be no election or for the diaspora to lose their right to vote? What would have to happen?
Well, you know, as you said, you described the parliament in a very good way with the way Nabih Berri manages the parliament. It's enough to have one parliament member, and we saw it in the past with Fattoush, who came and postponed the elections many times. And everyone said, yeah, it's Fattoush, but they all voted okay with it. You know, you need one person to come, one parliament member, and propose something. And then all of a sudden it's adopted. And no one tells you it's my responsibility. Everyone throws it on the other. So the risk is high that someone, you know, out of the black box comes. And of course, it will be arranged all together before, and they can do that. And they say, well, we have to postpone it because we couldn't decide on the diaspora vote, and let's work on the diaspora vote. As if from 2017 till now, they couldn't work on it. And this is very dangerous. And when opening the risk, there's another risk. Today, opening the discussion for amendments in the law, you will have openings, other openings. And you might go back to the pluralistic law. You might go back to no voting for diaspora. You don't open this,
Pandora's box.
Exactly. You don't open it. What? And what for? And that's why when I saw what for is ridiculous.
You just think it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
You don't think the advantages.
So I'm doubting it is raised for other reasons. And that's why I published this study to show that the changes are not much. It's not worth it. So what's happening could be for something else. And it could be for Lebanese forces to keep their ministers, maybe. It could be for Gibran Basil not to expose himself how much he lost. It could be for Hezbollah, it's not now his time to put effort on elections, it's not his priorities. I don't know.
Well, it has to be a combination for all of them to benefit, for them to...
What matters, we as people should not be mobilized by that. We should say elections should happen, make sure it happens.
Whether it's 6 or whether it's
6 or
128.
128. This should be our...
That's your final word?
This is my final word.
Inshallah khair. And last, are you running in the 2026 elections? Will you be standing as a candidate again?
Oh, now he's talking to me as activist.
Yes.
Listen, in politics, I encourage everyone who can run to run. It's very important to keep, the flame. It's important not to disengage, regardless of whatever the disasters that occurred during the last period, the wars, the what have you, the disappointments that we have, we should keep on fighting. And when time comes, we'll discuss it. It's not the problem. It's not my issue now. This is not my first worry.
Not ready to announce your candidacy.
not my first worry now.
No. Thank you very much, Tarek.
Thanks, Daizy.
Very enlightening, honestly. And
Thank
I think it's important for a lot of people, especially the diaspora, to understand what you're saying and understand whether it's to our advantage to vote, get behind the 128, or understand the values and benefits of the 6. So really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for enlightening me, and I hope everyone else has been enlightened by this conversation.
Thanks, Daizy. And my final word, please vote, register, go, and no matter what it is, get mobilized and do the voting.
Thank you.
And the candidacy as well.
Yes.
Run
and vote.
And vote.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Real Talk and experiencing firsthand the real stories told by real people. I hope you found value and meaning and encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Your ongoing financial support is vital to our ability to continue delivering these stories, so please remember to click on the donate button in the description, giving only what you can afford. I spent my whole life giving my time, money and skill to serve human rights and social justice causes, and I know it's not easy to keep giving selflessly. But this work is important because the mainstream media has failed to live up to their obligations. So we need to step up, speak up, or we're no better than them. I believe by tuning in to this podcast, you are someone who wants to know the facts and the truth, so you can independently decide what to believe and what not to. My job is to deliver that information. Yours is to place a value on it. Whatever you decide is humbly welcome. Thanks again, and see you on the next episode of Real Talk.